Time now for Options Corner. Joining us to take a deeper look at this chart, we've got Rick Ducat, lead market technician. All right, Rick, so Netflix has been an outperformer year to date. What are the trends that you notice?
Yes, this is a yearly chart here, but you can still see a strong outperformance, up 72% during the past year, versus the XLC Communications ETF up about 26%. That's a pretty broad sector. It's kind of tough to make a comparison there. But when we look at the streaming companies more specifically here, you know, Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount, they have this whole deal going on together now. So Netflix still at the top of the pack for the most part here, up about 72% versus Disney and Comcast, 13 and minus 31% almost. But they have their hands in so many other things. It's not really the most direct comparison here. But overall, it seems like the streaming space is doing fairly well here. When we look at Netflix more specifically, we can see that for the most part, this symmetrical triangle shape has been taking place here. We did have a brief downside excursion as well as a short false breakout there above that 1230 level. But that's kind of generally the ceiling that we've formed in these recent days here. Meanwhile, the floor is more like 1150 here. So that was around where we topped out and then hit subsequent lower points and then stabilized here. So 1150 to about 1230 in the shorter term. Those are the points that stick out here. Also, you kind of wonder too if we're seeing perhaps a inverse head and shoulders type pattern taking place here with that neckline near 1230. This would be more of a bullish type pattern here. You'd be looking for that breakout above 1230. Certainly not a guarantee that's going to happen, just a common pattern that traders may be on the lookout for. When we add some of our other studies here, we can see that our volume profile point of control comes in near 1203 or so, and that lines up with two of our moving averages, our yellow 21-day and orange 63-day exponential moving averages, which are moving sideways and clustered together and lining up with that same point. So that gives us a pretty notable inflection point around that 1200 level for the bulls to try to reclaim and push beyond that heavy volume area. The volume really starts to thin out around 1250 as well here. Then to the upside, we have our blue linear regression line, our line of best fit. That comes in around 1309. Meanwhile, our -1 standard deviation, pretty close to the lower trend line here, coming in around 1145.
All right, and then Rick, so what's the approach for an example trade for Netflix ahead of its earnings?
Well, we've got some bullish news here. Plus, I really like K-pop Demon Hunter, so we're going to go with a bullish example trade here today. -1, November 21st, 1150, 1140 put vertical at a $4 credit here. So in this case, what we have is not quite that 1 to 3 risk reward setup that often I talk about here. In this case, I really wanted to focus on that 1150 supportive level. That was kind of the low point of the range that we were discussing here. So what this trade would be doing is looking for price to stay above that boundary here. That would give us a break even of about 1146 or so. Max profit $400 is the credit received. Max loss would be $600. So not quite that 1 to 3 risk reward. So this would be more of a trade that would be somewhat less probable, but it would be a greater reward. Risk reward is obviously inversely proportional in trading here, as it always is here. About 35 days out, and we can see that that would be the expected move here, about 1081, 10.8% here, so about 128.40 plus minus here. So a pretty wide range here. The break even would be about 3.5% to the downside in this case here. So this would be well within that expected move range here. But because we're thinking of a more bullish attitude here, that's where we would be looking to move.
All right, thank you, Rick. The example trade there for Netflix as a put vertical is the approach. Keep in mind it has earnings due next Tuesday.